This is a video about spiritual materialism. Good afternoon, this is Wake Up with a video about spiritual materialism. What is spiritual materialism? A long time ago, one of the first Tibetan Buddhist teachers who came to the West taught us about spiritual materialism and warned us about it. His name was Chögyam Trungpa, a Rinpoche. Spiritual materialism is what most of us do if we are on a spiritual, religious, or shamanic journey. The question is always, why are you doing this? Why am I doing this? What is the reason you are on that journey? What do you hope to gain? Or what are you hoping to avoid? Are you running away from something? Or are you running towards something? Do you want to be someone special? Why do you want to be enlightened or awakened? Why do you want to have knowledge or wisdom? Because you want to be someone special, or because you want to be powerful, or because you want to save the world, or because you want to be of value and benefit to fellow human beings, or because you want to avoid dying or avoid suffering, or because the world, the life is too hard on you and you want to rebel against the injustice. If any of those reasons are why you are on this journey, then you have already fallen prey to the trap of spiritual materialism. Enlightenment is not something you can achieve, nor do you get there by avoiding something. Enlightenment is the ultimate surrender. You surrender yourself, you surrender the feeling of being separate, the feeling of being valuable, the feeling of being special. You surrender causality, you surrender duality. You surrender the illusion that you are going to save the world, that it's your destiny to save the world. All of that, spirituality and enlightenment, is death. You surrender to the possibility of death. You accept death. You are going to die someday. And since there is no linear time, this day is all the time. Every day is the last day. Every moment is the last moment. And we are running away from this fear of death all the time. Everything we do is usually to avoid dying, to avoid suffering. That's how we're all the same. We're trying to avoid suffering. That's our human program. One of our human programs, we have many, but that's the main program, to avoid dying and to avoid suffering. That's the greatest fear of our mind, our ego, our personality, is death, dissolution, of just disappearing and never be seen or heard from again. Our greatest fear is that not only that we can die, but also that if we die, there's nothing left. There's no reincarnation, there's no paradise, no hell. We're just gone. But actually, you don't really exist. Your mind, your emotions, your body, it's not you. You are not your body, you are not your emotions, you are not your mind. And any thought that comes to you, and any feeling that comes to you, is not more valuable than what you produce when you're sitting on the toilet. It's all just garbage. So how you want to be of value to anyone else? To throw your shit at them and say, oh, my shit is much better than your shit. Look, it's so beautiful. People have this intrinsic delusion that some point, somehow, they will be all-powerful, godlike. And at some point, the ego catches on to your goal of enlightenment and turns it around and makes it a program of its own. Says, oh yeah, that's a great idea. Very few people are enlightened. That will make me more special. And all the cities, all the supernatural powers I will get. Great, I want that. No. Enlightenment can only happen if you surrender. There's no cause and effect, there's no duality, there's no black and white, no good and evil, no past, no future. There's only now, and it's without you. You don't exist. And once you accept that, enlightenment may happen if it is graced upon you. You cannot do it, you cannot achieve it. It will be given to you as a gift. And then you will feel one with the divine, which means that you will not feel yourself anymore. That thing, what you think is yourself right now, will die. It's gone. That thing that is thinking now, that is feeling now, that has sensations and opinions and experiences, is gone. So if you want to play the game of this world, which is more or less like watching a movie you like or reading a book you like, if you want to play that game, don't go for the enlightenment game, because you will be gone. There will be no one anymore playing that game or experiencing this or feeling or thinking this and that. It's gone. That is also why UG is always saying, why do you want that? It's nothing special. It's not what you think it is. Because it is not what you think it is. It's not a special kind of all-powerful state. You are gone if you're enlightened. And you cannot want that, because it's the end of your ego, the end of your mind. The mind will not want its own cessation. The ego will not want, does not want its own death. But this is exactly what enlightenment is. This is also why it's ludicrous and silly somehow to talk about this or write about this, because it cannot be put into words. The mind cannot understand these words. And it's also very questionable if there's any sense in throwing this information out in a YouTube channel or any other mode or medium, because it cannot be understood by the mind. The mind is what is listening right now. It wants to understand it. Yes, 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 I agree. Who cares if you agree? There is no you. I'm not here, I don't exist, you don't exist. It's all just one big thing. Call it God or the divine or the all or the everything or the cosmos or the universe or being, whatever you want to call it. It's just this one thing, and it's playing hide and seek with itself. That's it. You're God, I'm God, but we don't experience it every moment. We don't really know it. We can think it, but we cannot know it, because in the moment we know, the moment I know I'm God, there's no I anymore. There's only God or the divine or everything, whatever you want to call it. So it's about death. The greatest fear of the ego is death, and the greatest motor of the ego is also death. The fear of dying and the fear of suffering. The fear of not existing, which is actually what is happening. You're not existing really. And there's a part of you that is allergic to your own fakeness, and this is what is seeking enlightenment. But unfortunately, the ego is very smart. And the more intelligent and the more educated you are, the worse it is. It's really bad. Education is one of the worst things, because it makes your mind more and more clever. And the clever mind catches on and says, oh, there's another part that wants to destroy me, that wants to dissolve me, that wants to get rid of me. Well, let's see who is smarter. And that's spiritual materialism. The ego thinks, okay, now I want to be enlightened. But you cannot. You can never be enlightened. You can never wake up. You can only die. And then what's left, your empty shell, your empty hull, that is where enlightenment happens. But without you, you will be gone. So enlightenment is facing your worst fear. Enlightenment is basically suicide. So that's why Yuji always asks, why would you possibly want that? I mean, you cannot make it happen anyway, but why would you even want it? You want to die? Enlightenment is death. death of your personality. You will not be there anymore. There will still be something that looks like a human being and is still talking, but that's it. There will be no more feeling of I am something or I am someone. No more thinking, no more emotions, nothing. Empty. Because you have surrendered everything. Everything. You will not want anything anymore, you will not detest anything anymore. But your ego still wants something. As long as you want something, as long as you think, oh, I'm on the way, I'm already quite special, I'm already quite conscious, I'm already quite awake or something, I have achieved something. It's the surest way that you have achieved nothing. Zero, zilch. You just fell into the trap of spiritual materialism. You're kidding yourself, you're fooling yourself. Your ego has hijacked your spiritual journey, and you're looking at your shit sitting on the toilet and thinking, wow, that's one of the best I've ever produced. That's it. All your thoughts and emotions are BS. They have no value. Only when your thinking stops, then there can even be the possibility of enlightenment. Actually, you can wake up already and still believe that your shit is great, but enlightenment, no. Then you're dead inside, only an empty hull. Now, probably some of you are thinking, who the fuck does this asshole think he is, telling me that all my thoughts or emotions are bullshit? I'm not telling you anything. I don't want you to believe me. I want you to verify it. Verify where your thoughts and emotions come from. If they're coming from you, are they even originating in you? If your emotions are precious and if your thoughts are genius, then what about the other 8 billion people? Are they all wrong? Or is everyone right? Is it even possible that everyone's opinions and thoughts and emotions are correct? Or are they just distractions? Distraction from the real thing. And the real thing is that your ego does not exist and your mind does not exist, and it doesn't give you a pause, doesn't give you a break so that you don't realize this. But once you realize this, and once you let go of your thoughts and emotions and nothing is happening in your mind anymore, when you're really empty, then something real can happen. Everyone is looking for this love and compassion and so on, but where does it happen? If you're full of bullshit, it cannot happen. If you're an empty vessel, on the other hand, then the divine or the everything or whatever you call it can fill you with love and compassion. Yeah? But as long as you're still judging and controlling and comparing and condemning, as long as there's still shame and guilt and fear, then what do you suppose will happen? You have to forgive yourself and others and stop controlling and condemning and judging yourself and others. And then, once you're empty, something beautiful can happen. But unless you're there, the only spiritual feeling that can arise is that of fake greatness, which is spiritual materialism. I'm there already. I'm great. That's the ego hijacking your journey. So think about that if you really want that. Do you really want to cease to exist? I mean, you're not existing anyway, but it's nice to have this illusion. It's quite suspenseful. It's like watching a great movie or reading a great book. You can enjoy it. It's a nice game. It's like playing a video game or a computer game or board game, tabletop game, whatever you're into. Tennis game, golf game, any kind of joyful sporting or game activity or leisure activity. Sitting at the beach, enjoying the sun and the waves. All this will mean nothing to you anymore because you will be gone when you're enlightened. That's it. That's why it's also not special. It's just a surrender. You will not get anything because you will be gone. Enlightenment is death and surrender. There will still be something sitting there, but it will not have a personality anymore. So thank you to Chögyam Trungpa. His book Spiritual Materialism was one of the first I read, and now I'm coming back to it about 30 years later. And he already explained back then what the whole thing is really about. He was later much criticized for all kinds of shortcomings. But that's also just the ego again, trying to criticize someone or trying to destroy the message. And he had the most important message. He had the message that all the so-called great spiritual teachers who are now dominating the market are ignoring. It's all mindfuck. It's all big egos, people who are awake but not enlightened. They speak big words about how great it all is. It's not great. The feeling of great is gone if you're enlightened. Nothing is bad, nothing is good, nothing is great, nothing is small. It's gone. It's just as it is. It is. That's the only thing you can say when you're enlightened. It is. That's even wrong, because there's no it. Is, isness, beingness, that's everything. One word. It's the only thing you could possibly say that is not completely wrong. So take care of your ego traps. They are legion. Untold, manifold, innumerable traps. Because the ego does not want to die. The ego wants to continue its imaginary separate existence, which is not really happening. But it's a nice dream. Actually, the dream is really cool. It's a really, really nice dream, and the ego does not want to wake up from it because it's really enjoying that dream. My wife always tells me, your videos are too negative. Why don't you say something positive? It's positive also, but first you have to let go of these delusions that you're some great hero or heroine that will save the world, and that you're the best thing that ever happened, or the worst thing, or whatever. Any kind of attachment, it's all identifications. If you're identified with an illusion, reality cannot happen, enlightenment cannot happen. Peace, love, compassion cannot happen. Compassion with what? Yeah, but once you're empty, then you can be filled with wonderful things. Yes, that can happen further on. First, it's waking up, and then it's a whole cleansing process. That's where there are so many meditations like Sahaj Mark and Subud and whatnot. Buddhism is full of it also. It's all cleansing, 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 getting rid of this attachment, the samskaras or whatever you want to call it. And then when you're empty, then the gift of peace and love and compassion may happen. This is the prerequisite. But on the way to being empty, on the way to emptying yourself, on the way to getting ready for the big thing, there are a lot of traps. And I'm very grateful for people like Chögyam Trungpa and UG that they have the courage to speak about these things. And I think that's also important. There's so many channels out there who promise you the rose garden and the gold pot under the rainbow. But so few speak about this, these traps. So I think that's very important. Do with it what you will. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and see you very soon.